Okay, this is part 3 from the book Prevent and Reverse Obesity by me, Pete Rogers. We were just talking about olive oil, and I've done previous videos on olive oil. Probably my best video on olive oil was over at VegSource. And you probably heard me say it before. I think olive oil is a joke. It's something you should totally avoid. It's just good marketing. Extra virgin makes it sound like it's your new bride. I mean, I just joked in the finish of the last part too. You know, it's better lubricant than it is a food. It's a processed chemical. There's no faucets on olive trees. There's billions of dollars behind promoting it. You know, I think the people who promote it have sold out to big money. Okay, I don't intend to sell out. You've also heard what I said. I only think the thing that could save nutrition and healthcare is, and America in general, is a return to Christian ethics. Because Christian ethics say you tell the truth regardless of money. Everybody's equal in the eyes of God. So you do the right thing for the poor prole that's sitting in front of you. Because the proles have no money. It's much more profitable to rip them off and trick them. And I also know there are some, good people who actually really believe that there's a benefit to olive oil or omega-3s. In my opinion, they just haven't read the literature extensively enough. But, they do mean well. There are other people who do know better. And they're just selling out for the companies to give them money. Okay? And I also think omega-3 is, bullshit on steroids is what I wrote in here. And so why do I say that? Now, again, I know there are some good people who are really trying to read the literature, and they're of a mind that omega-3 is good for you. But I don't think so, okay? And so there's other people who I think know it's not good for you and have read more extensively, but they're selling it, okay? And so they're making money on it. And I don't think it's a good idea because there's so many issues with just the product itself undergoing lipid peroxidation. It's a PUFA. They're prone to lipid peroxidation. And, I've gone through all the work of Dr. McDougall and Nathan Pritikin, and it was pretty convincing to me that you get enough omega-3s just from eating these low-fat plant foods. And these, people in these third world countries where they got longevity and they have low cholesterol, don't get any diabetes or hypertension, they don't go seeking out supplements. They just eat low-fat plant foods, okay? Omega-3 oils, the supplements, they're obesogenic. All fats are obesogenic. They increase your risk of atherosclerosis. They increase your risk of atrial fibrillation, of prostate cancer. So I say these things again. I just want you to know, I do think there are some people who mean well, but I also think a lot of people read the modern literature, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. Most of it is funded by the corporations trying to make their products look good. It takes bravery. You have to be courageous to tell the truth about something that contradicts the marketing of a big company. Okay? Whereas it doesn't take any bravery to just repeat the corporate advertising fake research. Science spelled with a $S. Okay? So to me, it's like, how are you going to improve longevity and cognitive function when you increase the risk of a disease like atrial fibrillation, which drops blood flow to your brain and causes cognitive dysfunction, can potentially make you demented, okay? How are you going to improve a person's health by giving them prostate cancer, by making them fat, by increasing their risk of diabetes and atherosclerosis? I just don't buy it, even though, like I said, there are some people who legitimately are trying to figure it out, and that's where they're at right now. But I believe I've read it more and I understand it better, and it's a loser. I don't think you should be seeking out fat at all. That's my opinion, okay? Based on a lot of study and a lot of logic, okay? I'm trying to figure out the truth. I'm a Christian. I don't make any money doing this. I want to be the best doctor in the world, so I have to do what's right. And believe me, that brings me a lot of unpopularity. That gets me hassled at Trader Joe's in the checkout line. And who knows, someday Big Food or Big Pharma will bump me off. But I will have done right as best I can from start to finish. Okay, what else? Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, here's his quote. No oil, not one drop. All oils are bad for blood flow. The research shows that that's all of them, including olive oil, increase the risk of atherosclerosis. Let me repeat myself. No oil. He's got the best results by far of any doctor in the world for treating and reversing coronary artery disease. And you want to prevent heart disease. That's the most common cause of death. And Dr. Greger had a good quote. He said, given the fact that a low-fat, plant-based diet reverses coronary artery disease, and it's the only diet known to do that, and that's the number one cause of death, shouldn't that be the default position until otherwise? I think so. In other words, this is a diet that makes you skinny. It makes you better looking. It keeps your coronaries open. The only supplement you need to take if you're on a low-fat vegan diet is methylcobalamin, vitamin B12. So it's a pretty good deal. And, for people who are hesitant to try a vegan diet, I'd say just do it for a couple months and see what happens. Do it for 3 months. You got nothing to lose. That's what all these skinny people all over the world do. Okay, let's see. It's good for your arteries, good for your brain, good for your Johnson, and everything else. Okay, rule number 4, losing the weight and getting healthy is you got to filter your tap water. Okay, there's tons of estrogenic chemicals in your tap water, and if you don't filter them out, they can make you prone to gain weight. It's a fat storage hormone, estrogen. It tells the woman's body to keep more weight on there in case the baby needs it for energy. At the very minimum, get a carbon filter for your kitchen. Estrogenic chemicals are organic, carbon-based chemicals, so you remove them with a carbon filter. I like to also remove the aluminum, which is a metalloestrogen, which you can do with a reverse osmosis filter. A nice setup is a whole house carbon filter and a kitchen reverse osmosis filter. That's a good way to go. Better yet, live in an area that doesn't have fluoride in the water if you can. Okay, here's just a picture of some of the problems caused by estrogen overload from either de novo human estrogen or some of these estrogenic chemicals. Can increase the risk of breast cancer, fibroid tumors in the uterus, prolonged menstrual periods, endometriosis. With the pregnant lady getting exposed to a lot of the stuff, it can increase the likelihood the baby will have deformity of the penis called hypospadia or an undescended testicle. Here's this chemical structure of cholesterol, and it's a good name, chole as in bile, sterol as in steroid, all because there's an alcohol group on it right here. And so cholesterol, we do need it for our membranes to stabilize them, but our liver can make whatever we need. We don't need it in our diet at all. It's only in animal foods. It's not in plant foods. Here's the estradiol, estrogen hormone, based on a cholesterol backbone. There's actually 3 double bonds within the cyclohexane ring over here, the A ring it's called. And then you have a hydroxyl group coming off it. So the aromatic ring of like a benzene is what it really is. That confers stability. So it can stay on a shelf for years and not change. And then the hydroxyl group gives it antimicrobial properties. So this part right here, the A ring and the hydroxyl group, that's called the phenol group. And it's a great preservative. So it's in almost all the personal care products. It's in the shampoos, all of that stuff. And so that's why, I don't use a shampoo. I don't use laundry detergent. I'm a total minimalist as much as possible to avoid all these estrogenic chemicals. You don't need them. Why bother them? I don't wear deodorant either. Deodorant increases your risk of breast cancer. Shared lymphatics with your armpit, your upper outer quadrant of your breast. And aluminum is a metalloestrogen. You got power benzoic acid preservatives or something similar to it. A lot of people shave first, and then you increase transdermal absorption and increase the exposure of the upper outer quadrant of the breast. Used to be about 25% of breast cancer. Now it's 60% upper outer quadrant increase in incidence from the deodorants, okay? Who needs it? You don't want to spray them on either. Then you inhale them. You get that stuff into your brain, the aluminum. Stupid. Okay, here's how estrogen activates the estrogen receptor. The hydroxyl group forms a hydrogen bond with the receptor, okay, the estrogen receptor. So any chemical that's got a phenol group on it is increased likely to bind the estrogen receptor. That's why when somebody says, oh, the polyphenols are so healthy, I don't know, be careful. Bisphenol, that's got more than one phenol on it, okay? That's activates the estrogen receptor. Okay, so anyways, here's how this one looks. Now here's just a picture of a lady with a nice endowment. She's got a Virginia. It's obvious why, estrogen has been very, very good to her. Okay, but, look at this soy plant or a flax plant. I don't see any breasts on the soy plant. The soy plant doesn't have a Virginia. Why does it need such high estrogen? It's like a pesticide, okay, to, kill the insect that eats it. And maybe it does the same thing to the humans that eat too much of it. It's going to, it has a negative effect on the male fertility system of humans, negative effect on the female fertility system of humans. Okay, it's also goitrogenic. It activates both receptors, both the so-called good one to prevent osteoporosis and the so-called bad one to increase the secondary sex characteristics. If you go back to the old papers, you'll see that it causes premature puberty, premature thalarc. It's not what you think it is. Billions of dollars go into marketing it, so it gets way a lot of hype. I would never, ever eat soy, okay? And some people also say to me, oh, it's not as fat. I went back and just did the numbers because I had one viewer told me that soy was not as fat as I had said. So I looked it up and I actually understated it. The paper I originally quoted was 37% of calories from fat, but when I recalculated it, I was getting numbers from 45 to 49% of calories from fat. It's very fat. Flax is 60% of calories from fat. Okay, so I know some people mean well, and I know some people, they've really read a lot of the papers, the modern papers. That is true, and they mean well, and they're trying to figure things out. But what I would say is read the old papers before the soy corporation companies got in there and tried to bias things. And soy comes out as a loser, okay? It's mostly GMO sprayed with, glyphosate, a major toxic substance. I don't see how you could win with that, okay? The Asians that used to have someone have a tiny little amount from their backyard, not this modern processed GMO garbage. Okay, and I don't think it's a coincidence that something that makes people infertile is subsidized along with, atrazine doing the same thing with the GMO corn. So for processed food, soy is a common protein source and corn's a common high fructose corn source to sweeten it. Okay, that's usually not a coincidence. And then in your tap water, you've got other things, the fluoride and aluminum also lowering your fertility, lowering your cognitive function. Do you think that's an accident? Or maybe if you think that's an accident, then I think they've already lowered your cognitive function. Okay, and the average person believes that. You go to the grocery store and you look at the toothpaste and like over 90% of them will have fluoride in them. And you're like, gosh, that's been known for like over 30 years, more than that, How could people not know that? Gosh, that's been known for over 40 years. I've known that. I knew that in the 1980s, okay? Here's a chart showing that regular foods, soy is like thousands of times more estrogenic than regular foods, and then flax is far more estrogenic than soy is, like more than 4 times more estrogenic than soy is. Why would anyone want to eat that? I'm like, if I had anything that estrogenic in my house, it would have to cook for me, okay, at a minimum. The book by Anthony J is quite good, Estrogen Generation. He's got videos at his site. You just go to his site. It's Dr. Anthony J. And people say, oh, how could I mention him? He's not a vegan. Hey, look, he doesn't know anything about food, but he's really good on chemistry. He's a PhD in lipid biochemistry, okay, so he's good on that subject. He's still kind of young, and also, if you're going to make it big on the internet and make money, you got to sing the song that the paleo keto carnivores want or that the bro science spots want. Those guys don't ever speak to me. They don't ever invite me to anything. They've never invited me to a meeting or for an interview. And that's just the way it's going to be. I'm not in this to be popular. And again, that's why I think you need Christian ethics to fix things and make it better and say, I'm going to do what's right over money. Because money makes you do the wrong thing. Because in the health business, money comes from lying to people. It's very difficult to make any money telling the truth. You can do it with great difficulty, but it's difficult, okay? All right, well, here's Anthony J's book. And I'm telling you, it's a great book. I read like 6 books on estrogen chemistry. His was the best by far. It was really funny and clever and accurate. It's in my top 50 health books of all time. He writes really well. He's clever and funny. He's got a good personality. Okay, here's a typical American male in the modern world. They got a big fat belly, and they'll tell you it's a beer belly, but in reality, they look like a pregnant woman. They got little boobs, call them man boobs, moobs. They look like, the freshman girl in high school, okay? It's not a good look. And soy feminizes men. There's been a major feminization of men. I posted a video yesterday about how, the commentator tape was saying that, the TV shows are designed to feminize the psychology of men. And I would say that's true. Everything on TV has changed from when I was young, and it's very much feminizing. And he gets it from drinking beer. You'll get estrogenics, chemicals from the hops, for example. Here's a typical estrogenic chemical, bisphenol. bisphenol A, BPA. So bis means there's two of something's at separate locations. So these are phenol group here. And people say, oh, the bisphenol is toxic, it's a mitochondrial inhibitor, it's a feminizer, estrogenic chemical, get that out of the food or out of the bottles. And they'll go, yeah, sure, we'll give you a bisphenol-free, BPA-free bottle. They'll just put BPS in there. It's the same thing. You have a different molecule in the middle, but it's the same chemical effect with the phenol groups on the outer part. That's why you can never really make industry get rid of something. They've always got a workaround for it. That's why you just have to educate yourself so you know how to avoid this stuff. And in the end, you become a minimalist if you understand what's going on. Here's a typical thing too. Normal dietary fiber maintains good gut bacteria. With a lack of dietary fiber or other toxic chemicals like oil, alcohol, excessive antibiotics, excessive fluoride, you get bad bacteria in your gut. Normally when you excrete high levels of estrogen, it goes to your liver to be excreted. The liver conjugates it with glucuronic acid, then it's released into the bile and we defecate it out of our body. That's how we lower our estrogen levels. But when you have bad bacteria in your gut because you don't eat enough fiber and you eat toxic things like oils, alcohol, fluoride, etc., then the bad gut bacteria have the enzyme glucuronidase. Good gut bacteria have much less of this. And they'll deconjugate the estrogen, pull off the glucuronic acid. That leads the estrogen now to being exposed and it gets reabsorbed into the body, so estrogen levels go up. And I know some ladies, they told me every woman in their family had to get hysterectomies for fibroids at less than 35 years of age. They're all drinking tap water, eating meat and processed food. That's why they get all these estrogenics. And it causes fibroids, and that's not good for them. It also increases their risk of an early death because once they have the hysterectomy at a young age, they stop menstruating, then their physiology becomes more like a man. Because they don't menstruate, their hematocrit goes up. The amount of red blood cells in their blood makes their blood thicker. Then the heart has to pump at a higher pressure. The hypertension causes atherosclerosis in the brain and elsewhere. Menstruation is why women live longer than men, because it lowers their hematocrit, lowers their risk of hypertension. So fiber is your friend. Okay. Like I said too, you've also got all these estrogenic chemicals in your laundry detergent, in your shampoos. This is nonylphenol, real common detergent. If you eat 100% vegan, you don't cook with oils. You don't need detergent for laundry. You don't even need a dishwasher detergent. I don't even use a dishwasher. I have no need for it. So that makes it easy. You don't need laundry detergent. You just make it a little hotter. You don't need it. I like to avoid all these things as much as I can. Okay. You save money. It's more convenient. And it makes you healthier. Like dissolves like in chemistry. So these things are estrogenic. They're lipophilic. They'll go right through your skin, transdermally absorbed. I think sunscreen is for chumps. I mean, if you got a job where you got to work outside all day, yeah, fine. But look at those lawnmower guys. They're wearing a sombrero and a long sleeve shirt, long sleeve pants. They're out in the sun all day. Maybe put some sunscreen on your hands if you have to, but I don't like this stuff. It's full of estrogenic chemicals. I made a whole lecture, you can just watch the video on it, of sunscreen chemicals, which is the best one, and they can stay in the body a prolonged amount of time. In the end, I think you want to be like Adam and Eve. Be a minimalist, but keep your indoor heating and plumbing. This is a painting of Adam and Eve by Jan Bruegel, Peter Paul Rubin, public domain painting. Genesis quote 129, I have put plants on the earth that will be food for you, your God. Okay, I think we'll leave it there for today. I hope you found that helpful.